from that perspective. So when that doctor said, I want to give you need to take these for pain, I knew in my mind, somewhere I knew.
Bad idea.
But I'm like, maybe I could handle it. Well, you know what? I couldn't.
Right. That's one of those drugs. It's not like alcohol. I can handle it, man. I can handle it.
Absolutely.
It can be a monkey on your back.
Yeah, it did. And with when I started taking them, I have degenerative arthritis. I have all these other things going on, and it made me feel better. And it did take the pain away, and it made me feel like $1 million. But I started with that. I'm running low on my prescription. I'm having this and this and this, and I said, you know what? I have to stop this. And I went to my doctor, and I said, you know what? I need to quit this. Is there something we can do? And he said, absolutely. So for me, this is what works for me. And I'm not saying that every person that uses these treatment options, it works. But I can say that when you're using drugs for any reason, anything can happen, and things can go horribly wrong in the blink of an eye. Just horribly wrong.
Sure can.
And it's one of those stories that be careful of what you get involved in, because what you think can happen certainly can.
Sure can.
So what I would like to do moving forward, if there is anybody that would like to call in, I have a guest that I am going to have her call in. Her name is Denise. And
did we want to take a break?
Yeah, why don't we just go ahead and take a break? We'll be right back in just a second. Thank you very much. This is Heart to Heart with the Hansons. Thank you.
Greed is killing us all. Those that have, they just want more. For this disease, there is no cure. Just leaves you wanting more. A kid, we had fun, that's all we did. How I missed that beautiful time. We taught the world in our own minds. But now things have changed. Some friends in the early grades. Nothing comes to he who waits. So get on board, it's time to take. Killing us all. Those that have, they just want more. For this disease, there is no cure. Just leaves you wanting more. Who has, who does not share? This greed is killing you slowly. Step over me and step over you to make an extra buck or two. Is a lottery win. Crazy times and crazy thinking. Where does it stop? Where does it end? What happens when the money spends? Greed is killing us all. Those that have, they just want more.
Slight issue here with the music, but welcome back to Heart with the Hansons.
What happened?
I don't know. I muted the monitor and I don't think it came back.
Is the music still playing?
No, music's done.
Okay.
So we're back. We're on live. Technical difficulties. That's a story of our life here. But I think I know what it was.
Right.
When I dropped the mic. Okay.
Oh, okay.
We're learning. So anyhow, I would like to give out our phone number for those out there to be able to call in. Our number is 480-409-0773. That's 480-409-0773. And we have our guest, Denise, on the line with us. And we'd like to welcome Denise.
Hello, Denise.
Hi, guys. How are you this evening?
We're good. How are you?
How you doing?
Pretty good, thanks.
Good. Can you hear us okay?
I can. Can you guys hear me good?
Yes, awesome.
Hear you great.
Okay, so
All right.
now, Denise, you're one that you had not quite a same situation as I did, but you have had an opiate issue going on for how many years now? Did you say about the last 10 years with all the different problems that you've had?
Right. I was injured in October of 2000.
Okay, yeah.
And
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Oh, okay. And so that's where the opiates began, encouraged by the doctors.
So yours was encouraged. Now, what happened with you? Tell us a little bit about what happened with you.
With the injury itself, or just how I got?
Yeah, you had the injury, and then you went to the doctor, and then what happened after that?
Right. Well, mine was a nerve injury. I mean, similar to yours, from what I've heard, Kristen. So, I have had about 6 surgeries since 2000.
Okay.
On my left ulnar nerve. And one of those surgeries, actually 2 of those surgeries, would have included an intrathecal pain pump, which they infused with dilaudid.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've been on just about every opiate by trial and error because I seem to be allergic to a lot of the medications. So they would try things on me and I would have allergic reaction, and then they would try me on other things. So I pretty much run the gamut on all of those.
Right. So what would happen when you'd have to come down from those? When you'd have to, how would you go about? I mean, what was the longest stretch that you were having to take pain meds for?
Oh, years on. I mean, it went on for years. So probably the worst it got was in 2005, and I just felt for myself that I was being over-medicated. Even though I did have an injury, I did have severe chronic nerve pain, the doctor said it was totally fine for me to be taking these meds and the quantity, which I just felt was just too much. I didn't even feel like myself. I felt like a big lump on the couch.
Wow.
So when it was time for you to come off of these, what were you thinking? What were you going through? Did you experience withdrawals? And, what was your process?
It was very scary. I'd had no experience with drugs in my life. So for me, it was a very, very scary thing. And I did have withdrawals, but I tried to be very, very careful. If I went, when I decided to wean myself off of the opiates, I did it probably 3 or 4 times since 2000.
That's a lot.
And I just wanted to be very careful because I had heard all these horror stories. So I was really, really scared, actually.
When you have that nerve pain, and that's what I have, is that nerve pain. And I was taking pill after pill after pill, and I'm spending all this money on prescriptions, all this money on doctor's office visits, and it's not doing a thing to kill the pain. And your particular doctors, they just kept giving you more and more. What were you? How did you feel about that? Were you having any? Like, how did you feel?
Well, I was angry, number one, because for me, I felt that the opiates they weren't taking away the pain. They were numbing me as a person, and it just was masking what the real problem was. So I was trying to get doctors to address the actual nerve entrapment that I had.
Right.
So I was angry. That went along with it, but also being very scared and never having been through, I'd never been hurt in my life.
Well,
I had 2 kids with no epidural or anything like that, so I have never really been on pain medication.
You're tough. I had it all.
They keep telling me that, but then, this nerve pain is really, really crazy.
It is.
And it's frightening, and it just wears you out. But I kept thinking I was a really strong person because I had 2 babies with no epidural, and this nerve pain was just really absolutely killing me.
And that's what happens, and that's what our show is about. We become addicted to these things accidentally, and in my case, it wasn't the fault of my physician. He was actually, very helpful. And I've heard from people like you, oh, it happened with Michael Jackson. It happens with a lot of famous people. It happened to Eminem. These doctors, follow you around, and here you go. You can have everything you want to have, and then they're not willing to help clean up the mess afterwards, of this person that becomes addicted. How did you finally find the help that you needed?
Basically what I did was I kept pressing forward to find a surgeon that actually believed what was actually wrong in my arm with the ulnar nerve being entrapped.
Okay.
And I had seen a slew of doctors throughout the Phoenix and Scottsdale area, and actually in Northern California as well. And finally found a doctor here that said, yeah, Denise, it is entrapped, and look, I'm not going to be able to get you out of 100% of your pain,
mm-hmm.
but, what would you be willing to accept?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I'd be willing to accept like 25% less pain.
Okay.
And so we did a surgery. It's coming up on 3 years now, and I have been off of pain medication since then. Although I will use Vicodin or something like that with some breakout pain, but very rarely.
Very rarely. How do you feel now that you're not taking it anymore?
Well, I'm very clear-headed, which is amazing. And I just kind of feel like that part of my life was a real blur.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was trying to raise kids.
Sure.
I went through a divorce during that time. I remarried during that time.
Oh,
I had
wow.
4 teenagers in high school.
Oh, my gosh.
It wasn't a good...
I have 3 teenagers here.
It wasn't a good mix to have those types of drugs in my house when I had 3 teenagers were
Sure.
actually living with us at the time. To have those kinds of drugs in the house, it was very scary.
The whole process is scary, and, we go into it, and then we have these things happen, and we come out on the other end. And I'm so happy for you that you were able to find resolve, and you're able to actually feel good and go on, with your life. And I've had a really good time getting to know you. Denise and my husband both were in school together for life coaching.
Doing life coaching together
over
at SWE.
Life coaching together. And in fact, Denise she has her own life coaching business, and she's also starting something else new. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about that, Denise, if you wouldn't mind, please?
Well, sure. Well, my life coaching business is called Double Dare Life Coaching,
Mm-hmm.
and you can find me on the web at doubledarelifecoaching.com.
I love that. I think that's so cool. I hear that name, Double Dare. I'm like, oh, darn it. I wish I would have thought of that. I was like, oh.
So that's my life coaching business, and what that has led to is another ministry that another life coach friend of mine and I have recently co-founded called Sand Dollar Visions.
Okay.
And basically what that is for is we are really called and felt, led by the Spirit to help people who have been abused, either physically, mentally, all of that.
Oh,
and part of
wow.
that is finding some coping tools and other tools to move forward in your life past the scars.
Sure.
So we're getting some tools for them and helping them dream again and live again. So
I think that's so awesome. And if you wouldn't mind, when the show is over, if you could forward me the information and the websites for that, because I'd be happy to put that up on our ministry website for you to help advertise. For you being so nice to come on our little show here and share with us some of your experience. But I was just thinking, I'd like to ask you another question. Now, did you go through the hypnosis program at school?
I did not.
You did not?
No, but another friend of ours that Lisa and I actually, she was in our class, Jules Levin, she did, and she's a wonderful hypnotherapist.
Have you, with any of the coaching skills that you've learned, or even, maybe if anyone's practiced hypnosis on you, did you find that it helped at all with any of the, any residual feelings that you were having from using the opiates when you did?
I actually did some hypnotherapy. Funny you should ask. I did some I like to say midstream.
Okay.
of my injury, and I actually had a bad experience. It was not a great hypnotherapist, and I know a lot of people get a lot of really good results out of that, but I just particularly had a really bad experience.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, it happens sometimes.
So.
It happens sometimes. Sometimes it's not the right treatment for the right person at the right time.
Yeah, that's basically how I looked at it. So,
mm-hmm.
But recently had a hypnotherapy session with Jules, and